Namaskaram and a very good day to all viewers. My name is Sumitra, and on behalf of Sugam Culture and Heritage Foundation, I'm delighted to present this conference segment with two very talented individuals, Shri Vivek Sadashivam and Shri Vinay Varanasi. Hello and welcome, Vivek and Vinay. Thank you so much for joining us for this segment of the Malaysia International Carnatic Music Festival 2021. Okay, before we go on, I'd just like to give a brief introduction on our two speakers today. First, Shri Vivek Sadashivam. He is a Carnatic vocalist who started his vocal training at age 5 with members of his own family as his first teachers, studying from his grandfather, Shri A. Anantaraman Iyer, his aunt, Srimati A. Champakavalli of Calcutta, and his father, Shri A. Sadashivam, who are all from the direct Shishya Parampara of Shri Muthuswami Dikshidhar. Since 2005, Vivek has been training under the guidance of Vidwan Shri Rudrapadnam N. Tyagarajan of Bangalore, and currently he is also under the tutelage of Vidwan Shri Sanjay Subramanian and Vidwan Dr. L. Subramaniam. Besides performing extensively all over India, he has also performed in the USA, in Russia, and in Singapore. So besides vocal performances, Vivek has also conducted many workshops on music and music education in schools and on television. He has also written articles in leading arts magazines like Shruti and has represented India as a delegate at the World Festival of Youth and Sports. Welcome, Vivek. We are very happy to have you here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very, very glad to be a part of this as well.
Okay, thank you. Next, Shri Vinay Varanasi. Vinay works at the intersection of different fields, namely Sanatana Dharma, storytelling, and art. He paints, he does storytelling, and he binds them together. His fascination for the Indian ethos leads him to constantly explore ways of presenting Puranic ideas and themes. In this context, he has conceptualized and executed unique productions with musicians such as Ramakrishnan Murthy, Vivek Sadashivam, who is here with us, and Sumesh Narayanan. These productions have been about storytelling and music coming together seamlessly. Vinay is also a lyricist, and his Pallavi lyrics have been tuned and sung by musicians such as Vidushi Sranjani Gayatri and Vidushi Gayatri Venkataraghavan. He has also co-translated the Kritis of Yogi Narayana of Kaiwara to English. His fascination with watercolor has led him to developing his own style of art, where he represents Puranic concepts, music compositions, and Vedantic ideas through his artwork. Simply fascinating, Vinay. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
So welcome again to the both of you. I'm so happy to have you here on the MYICMF platform. And before we move on to our main conversation of today, which is on NAVA, the power of nine, I would like to just have a few words from the both of you before we move on to the conversation on the nine.
Yeah, I think we are extremely happy and privileged to be part of this wonderful festival being organized in Malaysia, as part of the Carnatic community, the MYICMF 2021. We'd really like to thank everybody involved, for making it such a seamless thing for us, and the fact that we're able to reach audiences in Malaysia and interact. This is a very nice format in which it's being presented. And yeah, I think we're very excited for all of you to watch NAVA, the power of nine, and who better than Vinay to tell you a little bit about it.
As Vivek said, we're so grateful, and especially at a time when arts have taken a back seat in the light of all that's been happening, to have you guys reach out and make us a part of this festival. It's so much gratitude, and this concept of nine is something that we thought would be very interesting to explore from the musical angle, from the angle of Hindu literature, how much is being said about nine. I think we struggle to really narrow it down and say, how many things will we talk about? But I think we're quite happy about what's come out of it. So we're looking forward to sharing that with you anytime now.
Thank you so much to the both of you. And now the Malaysia International Carnatic Festival 2021 is proud to present this conversation between two friends on the magic number 9. Presenting to you Nava, the Power of Nine by Shri Vivek Sadashivam and Shri Vinay Varanasi. Take it away.
Navadurga,
navavarnam,
Navanarasimha,
navagraha,
Navaveda Bhakti,
navaratna,
Navanaga,
navadwara.
Navarasa. Namaskaram. I am Vinay Varanasi.
My name is Vivek Sadashivam. We are extremely glad to do this segment as part of the MYICMF 2021 festival organized by Sugam Culture and Heritage Foundation.
We are exploring this beautiful concept of 9 and the Hindu understanding of the world and its connection to 9, because as we just showed you, 9 finds itself so many unique references, and we not only wanted to take it from the philosophical angle but also from the musical angle. We wanted to look at different ways in which 9 finds expression, and the 9 different concepts that we spoke about, while that's too much to talk about in one small segment, we thought we'd take something that we are all familiar with, that is the idea of navarasas, the 9 rasas that all beings exhibit. So while navarasas typically apply to humans, because all of them are different emotions, when a devotee is in such close proximity to their Ishta Devata, but naturally that layer is also superimposed on a deity, they start to imagine how does that deity showcase those different emotions. So Adi Shankaracharya, when he composes the immortal Saundarya Lahari in praise of Jagadamba, he shows through a beautiful sloka how each of the navarasas are connected to Devi. What's important to understand here is that these rasas are layers that are superimposed. They cannot be taken in a literal sense. For example, in one particular line, he says that she looks at Ganga with a little bit of jealousy. We cannot take this in that literal sense and say, oh, so Parvati and Ganga do not get along. The idea of jealousy here is because she's so consumed in her love for Shiva that anyone that is even slightly intruding, she looks at them with a slight jealous look. So it is with that spirit that Adi Shankaracharya composed it, and it's important for us to understand it with that. We'll run you through the sloka and the different rasas that are invoked through this beautiful verse. So the first verse takes the idea of how Devi is so, the rasa that is picked is Shringara, and she's just drenched in the idea of Shringara when she thinks and she's contemplating upon Shiva. So the verse itself begins with the words Shive Shringarardra, and she looks at other people who are interrupting that beautiful moment of Shringara between Parvati and Parameshwara with a little bit of Kutsana. So we'll run you line by line through this.
Shive Shringarardra Taditarajane Shive Shringarardra Taditarajane Kutsanapara Shive Shringarardra Taditarajane Kutsanapara.
From there, Devi looks at Ganga with a little bit of jealousy because she's seated on Shiva's head and Devi wants Shiva completely for herself. And why is that? That is because she's lost in contemplation of Shiva. Girisha Charite Vismayavati. She is in absolute wonder when she thinks of Girisha's Charita, of his deeds.
Sarosha Gangayam सरोषा गंगायां गिरीशचरिते गिरीशचरिते विस्मयवती गिरीशचरिते विस्मयवती
When she's like this with Shiva, when she's one with Shiva, she is also one with somebody who is adorned with snakes from head to toe. So there's also a little bit of fear when she sees these many snakes, but she doesn't want to show it to Shiva. So that is why the next verse talks about how there is fear, but she also disguises that fear as excitement. This is how beautifully Shankaracharya has combined two rasas, where he says, Harahibhyo bhita sarasiruha saubhagya janani.
हराहिभ्यो भीता सरसीरुह सौभाग्यजननी हराहिभ्यो भीता सरसीरुह सौभाग्यजननी.
If we look at all these rasas that are emerging through this sloka, it is not through any of Devi's actions as such. It is only through her eyes alone that we're able to understand the different rasas that she is exhibiting. So that's why the last line of this verse says, may these eyes that, are the source of all these rasas, may these eyes look at me with compassion, with karuna.
सखीषु स्मेरा सखीषु स्मेरा ते मयि जननी दृष्टिः सकरुणा ते मयि जननी दृष्टिः सकरुणा करुणा
Devi's karuna is then treated as that supreme rasa from which the world is taken care of. This bhavam is what several composers have attempted to internalize and also have brought out so beautifully in their compositions. When we think of the number 9, it's inseparable from Devi. That's why that forms a majority of the context that we will be looking at for 9 today. The reason 9 is considered a complete number is simply because after this, any other numbers are the formation of 2 digits, 10 right. onwards. So 9 is considered Paripurna Sankhya, and the idea of 9 therefore represents the completion. So in Navavidha Bhakti, the 9th stage is the complete stage, representing that all-encompassing nature of 9 and therefore its connection with Devi. Particularly Devi because Navaratri, Navadurga and Navavarna. Navavarna represents the Sri Chakra that we will talk about shortly, but the Navavarna compositions are written by, there are 2 sets of Navavarna compositions predominantly written by 2 phenomenal Sri Vidya Upasakas. One is of course by Muthuswami Dikshita and the other is by Utkad Venkatakavi. And we chose one composition of his, which is the 7th composition, I think, of his Navavarna composition.
Yes, the 7th chakra.
The 7th chakra, the Sarva Roga Hara Chakram. And in this composition, in his Navavarna set, this composition talks about Navarasalankara Kavya Nataka Priye. Devi is Sangeeta Rasike. She is somebody who is fond of Sangeeta, of Sahitya. So here he says that Devi is fond of rasa of the kavyas, of texts, of prose that have all the navarasas in them. So it's also a beautiful way of acknowledging that all these emotions, when they are surrendered to her, she becomes appreciative of them. So it does not talk about hiding away from any of the navarasas as such. So we wanted to bring out a snippet from this beautiful composition, which is also part of a navavarnam in itself.
Bhavarogahara vaibhave Bhavarogahara vaibhave Paramakalyana gunanikare Bhavarogahara vaibhave
of acknowledging that all these emotions, when they are surrendered to her, she becomes appreciative of them. So it does not talk about hiding away from any of the navarasas as such. So we wanted to bring out a snippet from this beautiful composition, which is also part of a navavarnam in itself.
Bhavarogahara vaibhave Bhavarogahara vaibhave Paramakalyana gunanikare Bhavarogahara vaibhave Paramakalyana gunanikare Bhavarogahara vaibhave Paramakalyana gunanikare Navarasaalankara kavyanataka varnite Shubhakare Navarasaalankara kavyanataka varnite Shubhakare.
That idea of 9 is so critical to Devi because Devi's abode is the Sri Chakram, the Sri Yantram when it is projected on a 3D plane. And this Sri Chakram is formed by 5 triangles that intersect with 4 triangles. So 5 downward pointing triangles intersect with 4 upward pointing triangles. The 5 represent Shakti and the 4 represent Shiva. Together, what is formed is 5 plus 4, 9, and the enclosures that are formed here are 9 in number. So those enclosures in Sanskritam are known as avarnas, and each, since there are 9 of them, it is known as navavarnas. The resultant from this formulation of 5 and 4 is actually 43 triangles, and Sri Chakra is a huge study in itself, but we just wanted to take that idea of navavarna and how beautifully Muthuswami Dikshitar brings this out, because when an upasaka like him talks about Devi, he would want to mention that 9 is a number that Devi is fond of. If you look at it, we have Ayudha Puja that's celebrated on Mahanavami, is the most important day of Dasara. So from that idea of 9, he brings it out so beautifully and so delicately in several of his compositions. And we selected one composition which has 2 references to 9. One being the navavarnam itself, saying Devi who resides at the center of that navavarna. At the center of those intersecting triangles, she resides with Shiva in the Bindusthanam, that is the center point. She also resides, the same Devi resides in the hearts of Navanathas, who are which is a yogi sampradayam, or guru sampradayam in itself. So by now several of you would have guessed which composition we are talking about. This is Neerajakshi Kamakshi in the ragam Hindolam. You can make out the 2 references to 9 in this compositions.
Gauri Hindola Dyuti Hira Mani Maya Bharane Gauri Hindola Dyuti हीरमणिमयाभरणे शौरि विरिञ्चि विनूत शिवशक्तिमय नवावरणे शौरि विरिञ्चि विनूत शिवशक्तिमय नवावरणे नारीमण्यद्यार्चित नवनाथान्तःकरणे नारीमण्यद्यार्चित नवनाथान्तःकरणे सूरिजनसंसेवित सुन्दर गुरुगुहकरणे नारीमण्यद्यार्चित नवनाथान्तःकरणे सूरिजनसंसेवित सुन्दर गुरुगुहकरणे नीरजाक्षि कामाक्षि नीरद चिकुरे त्रिपुरे नीरजाक्षि कामाक्षि नीरद चिकुरे त्रिपुरे
The beauty of why he refers to the navavarnam here when he talks about Kamakshi is because the idol of Kamakshi in Kanchipuram is placed on a Sri Chakram. So referring to her who is at that Bindu Sthanam is Kamakshi herself. But this composition also makes another indirect reference, I would say, to 9. It talks about different manis.
Right.
It Gauri, Hindola, Dyuti, and Manimaya, etc. So referring manis or ratnas, as we know, we all know about navaratnas.
Yeah.
When I think
that reminds me of a very popular composition on Krishna, actually.
Of course. Okay. And I think the one composition that captures the essence of Krishna's playfulness and how effortlessly throughout all the Krishna Leelas, how each of his deeds corresponds to one particular ratna, how he looks like he's glowing in that particular ratna. The composition is Muddugare Yashoda by Talapaka Annamacharya. And this composition, it's so vibrant, and it also brings out, I think it's also visual composition because it says, you know, this same Krishna, when he's atop that mountain, he looks like a blue sapphire. Atop which mountain? Atop the Venkata hill, because for Annamacharya, Krishna is Venkateshwara, but naturally. So we thought we'd take just a snippet showing a couple of different gems and how Krishna is compared to them. A couple of gems from the Navaratna series. Each of these Navaratnas is associated with the Navagrahas, and I think there could be no better way to finish this than by invoking Krishna in connection with the Navaratnas.
Muddugare Yashoda Muddugare Yashoda Mungita Mutyamu Vidu Diddarani Mahimala Devaki Sutudu Muddugare Yashoda Mungita Mutyamu Vidu Diddarani Mahimala Devaki Sutudu Antaninta Golletala Aracheti Manikyamu Pantamade Kamsuni Palivajramu Antaninta Golletala Aracheti Manikyamu Pantamade Kamsuni Palivajramu కాంతుల మూడు లోకాల గరుడ పచ్చ పూస, కాంతుల మూడు లోకాల గరుడ పచ్చ పూస, చెంతల మాలోనున్న చిన్ని కృష్ణుడు, చెంతల మాలోనున్న చిన్ని కృష్ణుడు, చెంతల మాలోనున్న చిన్ని కృష్ణుడు, ముద్దుగారే యశోద ముంగిట మోత్యము వీడు, దిద్దరాని మహిమల దేవకీ సుతుడు, దేవకీ సుతుడు, దేవకీ సుతుడు.
Right. That was a great session, Vivek and Vinay. Your presentation on the concept of Nava in not only Carnatic music, but in the larger context of Indian tradition was very interesting and engaging. On behalf of Sugam Culture and Heritage Foundation, I want to thank you both for the wonderful presentation. It was so unique and just adding a special touch to our festival this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So now I have just a few questions for the both of you before we end this conversation segment. First question. The both of you, I know you're friends, but are you friends first before music, or did music make you friends?
Wow, this is such a tough question. I have to think of it. What did music make us friends?
Music did make us closer, but no, I think we had a common friend who we met at a concert, and then post that we were just like we just introduced ourselves to each other, and then it was interesting the concept that Vinay was a storyteller and an artist. You don't have a lot of people doing that in general. So we were very intrigued of how it might be together, like music and something like this. And we did a project together, I guess, and that's how...
We just tested the waters. We had no idea. And I think from there, there's been no looking back. So we're really grateful.
Okay, that's nice. That brings me to my next question. This concept of music and conversation and storytelling and art. Today we didn't have the opportunity to see your art, Vinay, but I've seen some of your previous work with your artwork. So this combination of things put together is unique. I've never seen anything like it before. So I just want to get your views or your thoughts on how did this come about? This whole idea.
I think one thing that we felt when we were putting this, the first of our collaborations, from then on, one thing that's been constant for us is how do we make this accessible and how do we make people feel like they're a part of this? Because one of the things that can happen with thematic presentations is it can feel very, okay, I'm watching something and I'm not connected to it. But to bring out references that people know, even in the video you just saw, right? Muddugare Yashoda is something a lot of people are familiar with. So to bring out something unknown in something known, I think that was something that constantly is at the back of our head, saying, how do you make people relate to something and then say, oh, I didn't realize this angle was there. So that's one aspect of that, I guess.
Yeah, and the other thing that I can think of is when you bring in two forms of art, it's possibly easier to express yourself and get people to understand what you're trying to say. So we have Carnatic music, we have art, we have storytelling, all of that on their own are art forms, and they work very well. But then this point where they all intersect, it's not only 2 or 3 art forms coming together, but it's something that can be born out of it, which is very different. And this is something that you also see with dance or any other art form that you bring together. So it is just about the possibilities that open up are huge. So I think when we started doing it, we felt that this it's not just about him speaking and me singing all the time. We did that a lot initially. A few times we did that, but then slowly we started like building it more into a conversation and trying to see how that can come together.
And there's been so much of learning on the way. I think we have also figured out what people look for, what people appreciate, and how to make this something that everyone is a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. I also think that by doing this, you are expanding your audience. Somebody may not be interested to listen to just a Carnatic concert, but
Right.
when your descriptions and the connectivity comes in, right, there'll be some other group of people who will be interested, and also the
100%.
art and all that. So I think it's just expanding the horizon. So it's really wonderful. I truly enjoy whatever that you do. So
Thank you so much.
okay, we go on to my next question. So I want to dwell a little more on the Nava concept which you just presented. I find it fascinating that we have so many groupings of nines.
Yeah.
As you had pointed out in your presentation, so many are weaved into musical compositions as well, like the Navarasas in the Soundarya Lahari and the Navaratnas in the Muddugare Yashoda compositions. And beyond musical compositions, we find it everywhere, Navarathri and all those things,
Yeah.
including food. We find Navaratna Kurma, so, it is everywhere. We
I
find
didn't
this
think of that,
nine,
but
right?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm a foodie, so,
They should have put that into the video.
yeah. So, nine is so special in that sense. So, my question is this specialty only exclusive to the number nine? Or do other numbers also have some kind of prominence or significance in our Vedic or Indian tradition and culture?
So I think the beauty of Sanatana Dharma lies in the fact that every number, every alphabet, every sound has infinite literature associated with it. If we had to just go from the numbers 1 to 9, the amount of content that is around it and what it stands for. For example, the universe is filled with basically the 5 elements in the outside world. And inside the human body, the same 5 elements, then drive the same 5 sense organs. The same 5 sense organs then drive the 5 Gyanendriyas, or the associated faculty. All of this is pancha in Sanskrit, because the world has nothing but 5, these groupings of 5. It's concentrated 5. Concentrated in Sanskritam is called pra, and pancha is 5. So the universe is called prapancha. So every number has its own kind of association like that. For example, the idea of 6. 6 is so critically connected to Murugan. I'm just remembering how we did a little for one of the festivals on Subramanya Shashti. We had spoken about the idea of Shashti. His festival is celebrated on the 6th day.
Yeah.
He has 6 faces. There are 6 major temples in South India associated with him. He is called Armukam. Everything about him is 6. So what does that 6 stand for is a huge treatise in itself. So every number has so much.
Yeah.
9, as we said, is the Paripurna Sankhya. It is the culmination of everything. But every number has so much associated with it.
And even within 9, I think if we were together trying to see what we can bring out in a short duration that is coherent, but even there within 9, for just Devi alone, just take one concept alone and it can go very, very deep.
Absolutely. Navavarna alone we could have spoken about for like 20-25 minutes.
Yes.
But I think the idea is to also just introduce people to an idea and say, hey, that you have the freedom and the flexibility to go deeper from within. So for those who are watching and want to figure out about other numbers, you should really paint the town red. There's so much that's present there.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I want to now refer to some previous collaboration that the both of you have done. I followed your Datri series, where you connected different aspects of nature with Carnatic music, and you had the parrot, you had the snake, you had the moon,
Yes.
just to name a few. How did you guys come up with which elements to pick? Did you pick the song first and then connect it with the elements of nature, or was it the other way around? How did that come about?
How did we do that? I think I made Vivek's life very difficult.
That he did. That's
I chose
absolutely correct.
We chose themes, and then I found like these compositions somewhere which make a reference to the theme. And I said, you have to learn this now.
Yeah.
But I think the idea of nature really came from the fact that, as you mentioned earlier, a lot of people our age or in different age groups don't necessarily relate to Carnatic music. So the idea was, but they do relate to nature. All of us relate to nature fundamentally.
Yeah. Yes.
So how do we take a concept like that, which is relatable, and then take something which may be new to a certain set of audiences? Or if people are already familiar with Carnatic music, how do you bring out that further angle into it? So we chose nature because I think it also came at a time we did Dhatri when the pandemic was, the first wave was just settling down, and people were just tired of being indoors and being disconnected from nature. So somewhere that idea that we are connected to nature in so many ways, though we may or may not see it, that formed at least that's what I felt.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's why we started with, for Dhatri, bringing it closer to people, things that people can relate to easily, without having to think of very complex concepts, bringing it closer to people. That's what we thought of. And then it was surprising, and it was very revealing, that journey, to see how much is actually linked to every topic that we took. So whether it was an animal or a plant or whatever we did take, how much tattvas are involved, with all of them, and how we could find all that also in Carnatic music,
exactly.
which was very interesting. And then we kind of challenged ourselves, and like he said, there are references made, but to actually find that song and to find a rendition of that song, to figure out shlokas, kind of challenge ourselves even within that topic to present something which is unique and not already known or done in much detail before, was something that we wanted to do. And nature came as a very it's a topic close to everybody's heart, including ours.
And one of the things that we did in between, so for Dhatri, we had some idea of what we wanted to cover. We brainstormed. But I think through the process, we figured out that people were responding well to it. So we said, why not bring people in on this? Why not open it out to people and say, what would you like? So we had a bunch of options. And the last few, I think, were completely, Chandra, the last one was completely based on what that was chosen.
People.
So I think that really kind of also gave us a lot of encouragement that, people are curious to know more about this. That's why people wanted a longer duration for Dhatri as well. That's why we doubled it for Chandra. Everything else was 10 minutes. Chandra was, I think, 20-ish minutes. So I think that also kind of encouraged us to find more. When people challenged us saying, do something about this, it made us think about it.
Okay, very nice. Okay, so after Dhatri, I see that you both had teamed up again for another series called Parva, celebrating the lesser known festivals of India. Like here in Malaysia, we know, Thaipusam and Deepavali are federal holidays enjoyed by, regardless of race and religion, we all enjoy it. And then, of course, we know the common ones, the Onam, the Vishu, the Varshapirappu, and all. But the ones that was highlighted in Parva really was something not lesser known, completely unknown, to me at least. And I think I think it's more so for us who are out of India. I don't think it is at all celebrated here. So I think it was a very important contribution of both of you. So both these concepts, Dhatri and also Parva, were very interesting, and I loved both of it. So my next question to the both of you: what can we expect from Vivek and Vinay in the future, individually and also collaboratively? I'm sure you have some things in the pipeline. Maybe you could share that with us.
I think we always have something or the other in the pipeline. Just when we were watching this video, we came up with another idea and we said, okay, add that into the file of things that has to be done. But I think we want to explore concepts that our age groups are familiar with, and their expression in music. So I think for us, what's really, really exciting is seeing our age group respond to something like this. It's very heartwarming. It's just nice to know that we're on this journey together. So in terms of projects, I would say things that people of our age groups can relate to. What do you feel?
Yeah, absolutely what you said. And the thing is, to kind of challenge ourselves to be as creative as possible, even within this field. Even though we're not seeing, I mean, what we are doing is something I think that we haven't seen a lot of otherwise, but even within that, how do we get people more involved than just, something mechanical that's going on. So whatever topic we choose, whatever projects we're doing, now the idea is to more make it like in a different, bring in different dimensions to music, storytelling, and art. So we have a few performances lined up coming up, and so that I think you will see. I think there's one or two regarding to there's one we're doing on Uma
on the power of Uma. We had done one previously, so this is part of a 6-part series on different forms of Devi, and Vivek and I looked at 2 together, and individually I did the rest. The one that we did together previously was Radha, and now for Uma we're coming together again. It's very exciting for us because we also want to involve people on the process. I think one of the things that happens with projects like this is that people see the final product, but what is the kind of brainstorming that goes behind, and how do you really structure that final product to put it out? That's something we want to show a work in progress also, and be able to have people see that for what it is and not just a finished product. So we're trying to structure it in that kind of a format, and that's proving to be quite an interesting exercise.
And while doing that, we also we'd love to hear from you what you would like to see us do, or anybody who's watching, because ideas can come from anywhere, and we'd love to work on anything. So
I mean, I think I saw somewhere online on colors.
Yes, so Vinay did a recent one called Tinge, in association with Madrasana, where he brought out each color and what compositions are associated with those colors.
I mean, I love these linkages, this connectivity, these thematic presentations. It's wonderful, and keeps people following. They want to watch what's next. That's very nice.
Absolutely.
So that's all the time we have today. We have come to the end of our conversation. So once again, I'd like to thank the both of you, Vivek and Vinay, for joining us at this 3rd edition of our MYICMF for 2021. And we will now actually have a concert by Shri Vivek Sadashivam. And maybe Vivek, you'd like to say a few words about what we can expect in your concert?
Yeah, absolutely. So the attempt through this concert was to bring out a variety of songs, ragas, and songs on deities, different deities. So we'll have what I'm presenting is a couple of songs in Telugu. There's one in Tamil. There is in Sanskrit as well. So just trying to mix it up with different kinds of, bring about a bit of a variety in all of this. I think the main piece, I'm singing a piece in Bhairavi, and there is also
spoiler alert.
There's also Shulini, another raga, which is a Melakarta. So I'll just leave it to all of you to watch it and make of it what you may.
Okay, thank you so much again for your time and for that explanation of what's coming up in your concert. We look forward to watching your concert now, which will be happening in another 2 minutes on YouTube. So thank you once again. I would like to bid goodbye for now, and hope we can work together once again in the near future.
Thank you so much for having us and for such an engaging conversation. It's so nice to share our process. So thank you for lovely questions.
Lovely question. Thanks to Sugam as well.
Yes.
For having us as part of this MYICMF, and we hope the festival has I think it's the beginning of the festival. We're hoping that it goes really, really well. And
yes. Thank you so much for your well wishes.